Hello and welcome. You're watching our nightly news program coming to you live on All 24 News. Here are today's headlines. Algeria and Saudi Arabia signed an agreement to establish Algeria and Saudi Higher Coordination Council to intensify and deepen cooperation between the two countries. Also coming up, Algerian SONATRA strengthens its presence in the world's largest energy market, signing a contract to supply China's complex with liquefied petroleum gas. Also ahead in our news, airstrikes and artillery fire shake much of Sudan's capital and its neighboring cities as fighting between the country's warring factions intensifies sharply. And Russia targets US supplied Patriot system during intensive strike on Kiev. Ukraine says it shut down hypersonic missiles amid an exceptionally dense barrage fired at Kiev on Tuesday. Hello again and welcome to the details. First off in our news, President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, received the chairman of the Algerian Economy Renewal Council, Kamal Moula. During the meeting, Moula presented the President of the Republic with the outcome of the last forum on food security in the form of 10 recommendations to develop and improve the national production of durum wheat. This was followed by a constructive and fruitful discussion on the development of the economic situation in Algeria, where Moula expressed the persistence of some administrative obstacles that negatively affect the initiatives of economic actors. Algerian Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf and his Saudi counterpart Prince Faisal bin Farhan bin Abdullah Al Saud signed an agreement to establish the Algerian-Saudi Supreme Coordination Council, whose main tasks will be to intensify and deepen communication and cooperation between the two countries, especially since it will receive direct guidance from the leaders of the two brotherly countries. A statement of the Algerian Foreign Ministry indicated that the Algerian-Saudi political consultations confirmed the commitment of the two parties to continue and intensify efforts to raise the volume of trade exchanges and intra-investments that benefit both countries and preserve their interests. The Algerian and Saudi foreign ministers also tackled the developments of the Palestinian cause as they stressed the need to activate the various mechanisms issued by the Algiers summit to mobilize more support for this pivotal cause for the Arab nation and to carry on the Palestinian reconciliation path. The two sides reviewed the developments of crises in Sudan and Libya and the Maghreb region as a whole, as well as the escalating challenges in the Sahel and Sahara as a result of the expansion and exacerbation of terrorist threats. In a related matter, the Algerian foreign minister is taking part in the ministerial meetings of the Arab League Council. The Algerian Foreign Ministry said in a statement that the minister, Attaf, will participate in the various committees' proceedings, which will focus on following up on the implementation of the decisions adopted during the Algiers summit, provided that Minister Attaf presides over the meeting of the Commission for follow-up on the implementation of the decisions and commitments at the ministerial level, in addition to chairing the meeting of the open-ended Arab Ministerial Committee to support the state of Palestine. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, held bilateral talks in Jeddah with his Tunisian counterpart, Mr. Nabil Amar, on the eve of the launch of the preparatory ministerial meetings for the 32nd Arab Summit. In this context, in addition to consultation and coordination on the files on the Arab League Council agenda at the ministerial level, the heads of diplomacy of the two brotherly countries took advantage of this opportunity to review the progress made in completing preparations for the upcoming bilateral events, especially the Great Joint Committee. As part of expanding its presence in Asian markets, the Algerian hydrocarbon company SONATRA and the Chinese company Wanhua Chemical signed on Tuesday a contract to supply liquefied petroleum gas to the Wanhua petrochemical complex in China. Zara Farjani reports.
SONATRA, Africa's oil giant, signed on May 16th with the Chinese company Wanhua Chemical a forward contract for the supply of liquefied petroleum gas to the Wanhua petrochemical complex in China. This agreement marks a significant milestone for Algerian LPG export as it establishes a regular supply to the Asian market and introduces the Algerian LPG price benchmark on the largest regional market in the world. SONATRA's press release published on its website highlights the importance of this partnership in expanding the reach of Algerian LPG exports and strengthening the company's position in the global market.
Through this agreement, the two companies confirm their commitment to establish a sustainable and fruitful commercial relationship in the field of liquefied petroleum gas and petrochemicals in general.
The contract solidifies the commitment of both companies to establish a long-lasting and mutually beneficial commercial relation in the field of LPG and petrochemicals. Overall, this agreement is a significant step forward for SONATRA and the Algerian LPG industry as it paves the way for continued growth and success in the years to come.
The Austrian Association for Solidarity with the Sahrawi People in Vienna on Monday celebrated the 15th anniversary of the founding of the Polisario Front in the presence of the front's representative in Germany and its former representative in Austria, Najat Handi. During its annual assembly, the representative of the Polisario Front reviewed the historical context and the current challenges facing Western Sahara in order to defeat the Moroccan occupation. On the same occasion, the Austrian artist and writer Erika Bloer was also honored for her stances in support of the Sahrawi people in their struggle and her political and cultural efforts to publicize the Sahrawi cause inside and outside Austria. On the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Polisario Front, the national team of the Republic of Western Sahara arrived in Algeria today in order to have a friendly fixture against MC Algiers on the 20th of this month at the Nelson Mandela Stadium in the Algerian capital. Meanwhile, the message of the Sahrawi players to the Algerian fans was to expect them to be as crowded as possible at Nelson Mandela Stadium and be, by the same occasion, to support them in their Sahrawi cause.
Without any doubt, Algeria is our country too. It has been supporting us for 50 years, and for this reason, we are here today to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Polisario Front and founding of Sakia Hamra.
In Morocco, the Democratic Left Federal Party confirmed that the kingdom is experiencing an unprecedented deterioration in the concept of politics and in economic decision-making. In its general report presented to its National Assembly, the political bureau of the party affirmed that Morocco is experiencing systematic restrictions on the freedoms and the political... Excuse me, let me catch up on that again. Systematic restrictions on freedoms. The party also noted corruption at the political level, marked by deepening relationship of political loyalties with the state agencies. The chairman of the Presidential Council, Supreme Commander of the Libyan Army, Mohammed al-Manfi, held an expanded security meeting for the Defense and Security Council. The meeting was attended by the Prime Minister of the National Unity Government, the Minister of Defense, Abdul Hamid al-Beiba, along with other officials. It discussed the need to follow up on the security situation in the Western region in general, the Western Coast, and the city of Zawiya in particular. The meeting also emphasized the coordination mechanisms between the various relevant agencies and the review of security measures and plans to maintain the security, stability, and safety of the citizens. Tunisian President Mr. Kais Saied refused to adopt the security approach in dealing with the escalating flow of illegal immigrants in the Mediterranean. Saied, during his meeting with the Italian Interior Minister Matteo Biandetuzzi on Monday, stressed that security solutions have proven their limitations in addressing the phenomenon in light of the steadily multiplying number of victims. Tunisian president also suggested that an international meeting of all concerned countries be held as soon as possible to address the cause of irregular migration and not just deal with the results and effects.
We have set the basis for enhancing the bilateral cooperation in many security files and standing up against illegal immigration. At the same time, we focused on a practical roadmap which does not only focus on the results, but also to address the social and economic causes of illegal immigration.
More than 30 days have passed since the conflict broke out between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces, leaving hundreds killed and thousands injured. The battles continue to rage all while the number of refugees is growing amid worsening humanitarian situation. The details with Osama Ayadi in this report.
Clashes between the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces have continued for 30 consecutive days and is entering the second month, especially in and around Khartoum, killing at least 676 people and injuring 5,576. Smoke is still rising over the skyline of many regions of the country, leaving thousands in fear and hundreds of thousands in displacement to neighboring countries since the clashes broke out in mid-April. Residents of the Sudanese capital Khartoum have been suffering from severe food shortages, especially that dozens of factories were looted or burned. Despite the fact that the Egyptian government is trying its best to brace these refugees, who spent at least 8 days in travel to flee the country, poverty and need seem to be dominant on these people's day-to-day life.
At this point, we don't know what we're gonna do. Me and my family, we're taking a step back to rethink everything, make plans, for A, B, and C. Maybe look for jobs. And if we're gonna settle in Egypt for a long time, God knows when we're gonna go back.
Most of these Sudanese represent a moving workforce, but they left everything behind them, even their dreams, due to a conflict that they did not want and have no clue when it will end.
Migration is not the problem, but rather the system where migrants live and afterwards. They are a moving workforce. They include engineers, doctors, manufacturers, workers, craftspeople, artists, journalists, and people with different experiences. They need an opportunity to show their skills in the host country.
Facing a known future, an ambiguous horizon, over 900,000 people have been newly displaced by the conflict since April 15, including more than 700,000 internally displaced, and 200,000 have taken refuge in neighboring countries.
So this uncertainty is it's really full of it made us all full of nervousness. So we don't know what's gonna happen. We just have to live it day by day. And we just hope for the best.
According to the United Nations, it is estimated that about 15.8 million Sudanese, or about 1/3 of Sudan's population, will need humanitarian aid in 2023, and the figure is likely to increase as a result of the war.
At least 25 Palestinians were arrested in several areas across the occupied West Bank. The Zionist forces also shot live bullets during clashes with Palestinian residents in Ariha and Jenin, resulting in many injuries among Palestinians. Here's Islam Said with more.
Just a few days after signing the ceasefire agreement in the Gaza Strip, the occupation prepares to head for another escalation, and this time in the West Bank. According to local sources, during Monday night and Thursday morning, the Zionist forces raided many areas in the West Bank, detaining more than 25 Palestinians in all of Ariha, Jenin, Ramallah, Beit Lahm, and in occupied East Al-Quds. Meanwhile, several injuries were reported. A number of citizens suffocated due to inhaling toxic gas during clashes with the occupation forces in Ariha and Jenin, as well as in Nablus. These escalations by the Zionist entity at the sponsorship of its government were strongly condemned by the Palestinian Foreign Ministry, who issued a statement considering the Zionist policy as the gang's approach, who use Palestinians as an easy target to kill.
The Israeli occupation government deliberately systematically escalates the situation in the conflict arena and closes a page of crimes to open another page in an open war against our people. and their just and legitimate national rights in a process of continuous ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian presence, especially in occupied East al-Quds.
This comes following Netanyahu's provocative pronouncement regarding the so-called March of Flags by storming neighborhoods of the occupied East al-Quds amid the international community's silence on the ongoing provocative Zionist move.
The ministry expresses its strong condemnation of the international community's silence in countries that claim to be keen on the principle of two-state solution and human rights towards the boasting of more than one Israeli official about the policy of assassinations, extrajudicial killings, and provocative flag marches.
In light of these provocative acts, hundreds of Zionist settlers stormed the courtyards of the Holy Aqsa Mosque in Al-Quds under the protection of the occupation forces. On the other hand, the latter imposed restrictions on Palestinians at the entry of the mosque, and as a reaction to that, Palestinian calls intensified for the need to strengthen presence in the Aqsa Mosque in order to thwart the settlement flag's march. Al-Aqsa Mosque is subjected to settler incursions almost every day as an attempt to change the status quo at the mosque and desecrate it by Talmudic rites.
Russia's defense ministry said on Tuesday that it had destroyed a US-built Patriot surface-to-air missile defense system with a hypersonic Kinzhal missile in an overnight strike on Ukraine. And Ukraine, for its part, said its troops struck areas where Russian personnel and equipment were deployed. Sofian Kanturi reports.
In a recent development that has intensified the already strained situation in Ukraine, Russia's defense ministry announced the destruction of US-built Patriot surface-to-air missile defense system in Ukraine using an hypersonic Kinzhal missile.
Tonight, the armed forces of the Russian Federation launched a concentrated strike with long-range air and sea-based high-precision weapons at the points of deployment of the armed forces of Ukraine, as well as at the places of storage of ammunition, weapons and military equipment delivered from Western countries. The purpose of the strike was achieved. All assigned objects are hit. A high-precision strike by a hypersonic missile system Dagger. The city of Kyiv, a US-made Patriot anti-aircraft missile system, was hit.
The shelling was characterized by Ukraine's Air Force spokesman as involving a significant number of Kinzhal missiles, has raised concerns due to their limited availability in Russia's arsenal.
Ballistics, cruise missiles, or a combination of all types of weapons is not something new for the capital. All this happened more than once. The peculiarity of this attack is the usage of a large number of Kh-47M2 Kinzhal aeroballistic missiles, of which, by the way, there are not so many in service in Russia.
The Kinzhal missiles unveiled by President Vladimir Putin in 2018 is part of Russia's advanced weapons program. It's designed to penetrate existing and future missile defense systems. The destruction of the Patriot system carries symbolic and strategic implications, causing fear among residents in Kiev, the targeted city.
We've heard it all. Even our windows shook. But thank God, there were no storms, no missiles in our area. I feel pain, fear, nervousness, restlessness. God, we are waiting for victory, and when all this is over.
For its part, Ukraine, its troops struck areas where Russian personnel and equipment were deployed. And General Staff of Armed Forces for Ukraine said on the same day that Ukrainian army continued to fight Russia in Bakhmut and other places. Diplomatic efforts and dialogue remain crucial to de-escalate tensions and find a lasting solution. It's essential to understand the complexities of the situation without alignment and prioritize stability to prevent further violence and suffering in the region.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa said on Tuesday that Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky had agreed to meet a group of African leaders to discuss a potential peace plan for the conflict. In a return, a South African presidency statement said Putin and Zelensky had agreed to receive the mission in their respective capitals, Moscow and Kiev.
The two leaders that I had occasion to speak to, that is President Putin and President Zelensky, agreed that they would be willing to receive a mission of the African heads of states in both Moscow and Kiev. I agreed with both of them that we would commence with the preparations for their engagements with these African heads of state.
Russian lawmakers on Tuesday voted to formally pull out of a key Cold War-era security deal, more than 8 years after Moscow halted its participation in the treaty. The vote in the State Duma came less than a week after President Vladimir Putin introduced a draft bill denouncing the Treaty of Conventional Armed Forces in Europe, which aimed to prevent Cold War rivals from massing forces at or near mutual borders. The Federation Council is scheduled to consider Russia's pullout from the treaty next Wednesday. European leaders are meeting in Iceland on Tuesday for a two-day summit meant to show their support for Ukraine, but also send a powerful message on core democratic values many feel are under threat. In only the fourth summit of the Council of Europe since it was founded after World War II, the 46 members of the leading human rights bodies, which is entirely separate from the European Union, are gathering to discuss emerging threats as the war in Ukraine rages on. A gunman killed at least 3 people and injured several others, including 2 police officers, in a mass shooting in a northwest New Mexico town on Monday. The suspect, who was identified as 18-year-old shooter, was later killed by the police after exchanging fire with them. Police did not release the names of those who were killed or wounded or give details about the motive of the shooting. After the shootings were reported, the city schools were placed on what officials called preventive lockdown. Algeria achieved 3 new medals in the African Weightlifting Championship, which is taking place in Tunisia for 9 days of this month. The weightlifter Akram Shakshouch won a gold medal in the snatch specialty. A bronze in pose position and a silver medal combined the 2 movements. The Algerian athlete continued his impressive performance in this competition, which is considered a qualifying stage for the Paris Olympic 2024. And speaking of Paris, the Cannes Festival, or Film Festival, a showcase of the world's best cinema, most known for its spectacular red carpet, kicks off on Tuesday evening and will continue till May 27th at the French Riviera city for the opening night of its 76th edition, amid concerns about possible protest over President Emmanuel Macron's pension reforms. Salman Asib reports.
The Cannes Film Festival, an extravaganza and a showcase of the world's best cinema, begins in earnest in the French Riviera city for the opening night of its 76th edition. And this year's award has been made by Chopard since 1999, and it's given to the winner of the festival's main competition. In the French Riviera, it's a busy time for Swiss luxury jewelry and watchmaker Chopard, which makes personalized pieces that have been worn by some of the world's biggest stars on the red carpet since 2007. However, this year Chopard has made 76 pieces of high jewelry collection as a symbol for the number of years of the festival. A challenge, according to Chopard's global communications director.
2007, we introduced the red carpet collection. It's a high jewelry collection, which means only unique designs and pieces. We make them throughout, it takes almost 1 year to make this collection. We present it every year. And Caroline Schäufele, she has this challenge that every year we have to add a piece. This year is 76 pieces for the number of years of the festival. So it's a big challenge for the workshop because these pieces are all require several months of making, so it's quite a challenge.
This year's Cannes Film Festival jury features the Hollywood actor and director Paul Dano and many other Hollywood actors. During the conference, Dano revealed that he has been a long-time fan of international cinema, ahead with the Swedish movie director Ruben Östlund.
You know, every year since I was a teenager, I scour the internet for the 10 days that the Cannes Film Festival is going on to learn about what films I want to make sure to seek out, especially by foreign filmmakers, because I think that, you know, when I discovered world cinema is when I became interested in making films, not just acting.
Besides celebrity glamour, the festival main competition winner, Anti-government protesters has also shown up outside the festival grounds, threatening to ban the festival, including the French CGT power unions that threatens to cut electricity.
Well, that's the end of our program. Follow our social media platforms for more. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.